Waiting for the train usually isn't an exciting task. Near-death experiences didn't usually occur while waiting for the train. 6-year-old girls didn't usually meet century-old entities of death that also happened to be their son from the future while counting down the minutes until their means of transportation arrived. Today was an unusual day for Lily Evans. She stood on the brick platform waiting patiently, or actually rather impatiently given how much she seemed to be fidgeting in her spot. Lily tuned out the sounds of the world around her as she lost herself in her own imagination, though she could still vaguely hear her mother chatting, rather animatedly with the woman next to her. It was rather rude because Lily was trying to have tea with a lovely pair of rabbits and the noise was upsetting them. Lily Evans was not a reckless child. That being said, she wasn't exactly timorous either. In fact, she wasn't really timorous at all. Yes, you could describe her as a not reckless yet not very timorous either kind of child. Though, not very many people would use that exact phrasing to describe Lily Evans. She was, however, a child. Children have quite rash tendencies by nature, so when Lily's favorite doll fell out of her feeble grip and rolled off the floor onto the train tracks, she started to reach towards it. Her small hand slipped out of her mother's, who was still busy talking to the woman next to her. Mrs. Evans seemed quite passionate on the subject of whatever small conversation the two women were having, as the loss of the light grip of her daughter's hand was not noticed. Lily was smart for a 6-year-old, but even still, children her age lose track of their surroundings when they're focused on something, especially if that something is as important as the task of retrieving their favorite toy. As such, the train speeding under the station wasn't a big priority to her at the time. Her attention shifted, and the noise came crashing back to her as a hard tug to the back of her shirt sent her reeling back just as the train slowed to a stop in front of her. She stumbled a bit before she regained her balance. Lily blinked twice before she turned to her savior, and her emerald green eyes met a mirror of the same color. The only difference was the man's green eyes she had been staring into seemed much, much older. Too old, in fact. So old that even her gray-haired, wrinkly grandpa's hair of lookers, as he called them, appeared young in comparison. Lily took in the man's appearance. He had soft wrinkles around his eyes and mouth, but that spoke more of wisdom than age. The man had a pair of cheap-looking glasses on, and jet-black hair that was only slightly graying. His hair, if you could even call the bird's nest atop his head hair, looked like a jungle, it was so unruly. He had a very visible scar in the shape of a lightning bolt on his forehead. His clothes were rather unremarkable, though. Lily noticed a large golden ring on his hand and a small leather pouch attached to his belt. The man also had a tattoo of a triangle with a circle and straight line contained within it on his collarbone. It was interesting. Lily hadn't seen many tattoos in her short life, and certainly not one in such a visible area. She got scared for a moment, because her mother told her that men with tattoos were thugs. He flashed a blinding smile, and she relaxed. Another look at the man, and she couldn't think of him as anything but nice. He did save her, after all.
You should really be more careful next time. You're more important than that toy.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, Lily. I'm Mr. Potter, by the way.
Lily, come on, darling. It's time to get on the train now.
The girl turned to ask the mysterious man how he knew her name, but he was gone. She glanced around the platform one last time, searching for Mr. Potter before being ushered onto the train by her mother. The next time Lily encountered the mysterious man, it was 3 years later, and she was wandering through the forest close to her home. It wasn't a big forest by any means, but it was tranquil and filled with the sounds of nature. She really liked it. The only downside was that Severus couldn't come with her, or her father would get angry. It was also autumn, which was her favorite time of year. The leaves were all pretty colors, and it was fun to jump in piles of them. Lily skipped around for a while, looking for flowers and to see if she could spot any animals. Her feet met the ground with a soft crunch as she maneuvered through the forest floor that was covered by orange, yellow, and red leaves. Unfortunately, the small woods did not house any larger animals like deer, but she would find a squirrel or rabbit every once in a while. A quick look at the darkening sky told her that she needed to head home. She turned on the spot and began to walk back towards what she knew was the general direction of her home. Lily didn't want to make her parents worry, so she quickened her pace. A terrible splintering noise made her snap her head to the right. Lily watched with eyes wide in horror as the tree started to lean towards her. Another loud noise and the tree started to fall towards her. It was a thin tree, but surely enough to hurt her. She stood frozen on the spot. All the young witch could do now was throw up her arms in a feeble attempt to shield herself. The tree nearly collapsed on her, but before it could crush her, it exploded into a blast of small wood chips. A few small branches and some dust landed on Lily. She stood still for a moment longer until her heart rate went back to normal. It took a minute to realize that she hadn't been flattened like a pancake, but she then started to wonder why. However, her question was almost immediately answered when she heard a voice from behind her speak up.
Honestly, a falling tree. What are the bloody odds of that?
Lily slowly turned around to meet the green eyes of Mr. Potter, her one-time and possibly two-time savior. He looked exactly the same as he did at the train station, but it had only been 3 years, so it wasn't too strange. The man was also holding a thin piece of wood that was oddly shaped. He gave her a big grin which she returned, albeit slightly smaller.
Hello again, Lily. Oh, and promise me you won't repeat that. I wouldn't want to be the cause of you having a potty mouth.
I promise, Mr. Potter. Daddy says mean words sometimes when he gets really angry. He usually panics when he realizes I heard him say them, though.
That's good. So, what are you doing all the way back here?
I like the forest. Sev's dad gets mad at him when he goes out too far, though, so he can't come. I don't like his dad.
He sounds mean.
He is! I don't always come alone, though. Daddy takes me out sometimes, and Mum came along once. I asked Toonie to come with me a couple times, but she always says no.
Do you and your sister not get along?
I don't know. She never really liked going outside much in the first place. I think she still might have come a few times, but she's been so cross at me ever since.
She wanted to tell Mr. Potter. For whatever reason, Lily desperately felt the need to confide within the black-haired man standing before her, but didn't know that she could. Severus hadn't explained much about magic to her yet, but he told her that people without magic weren't supposed to know about it. She remembered that there was a word used to describe them and tried to think of what it was. She knew it started with an M. Was it Undles? Maggles?
I'm not a muggle if that's what you're worried about.
You're a wizard, right?
Yeah.
Did you blow up the tree to save me?
Yeah, that one was me. You really ought to stop getting yourself into trouble, young lady.
Can you do some more magic?
Mr. Potter rolled his eyes and shot her a playful smile. He extended his arm and pointed his wand at a rock that was situated on the ground a foot away from her. Lily zeroed in on the rock like it was the most important thing in the world, and was giddy with anticipation. Suddenly, the dull and gray rock turned into a big, brown rabbit. The animal shot towards Lily, and she jumped to get out of the way. The young girl stumbled over a root and fell to the ground laughing as the rabbit scurried away.
That was brilliant!
Would you like to hold it? You aren't going to be able to get yours for another year and a half.
She looked at the wand happily and waved it around. Lily took another look at the wand with a furrowed brow. The long piece of wood felt cold in her small hand and just wrong. She panicked for a split second, wondering if that meant she couldn't do magic, or that she would be a bad witch.
I would be shocked if you could actually use that wand. Wands are very particular. The reason you go shopping for a wand is not to pick out designs, colours, or anything like that. It's because you have to figure out which wood and core channels your magic correctly. That's the extremely simplified explanation anyway.
Oh, so I can't do magic with this because it's not made of the right stuff?
You actually could. But it would be a lot harder than using a wand that chose you. This one in particular has some strange quirks to it.
Sev told me that you needed to use words to do magic, but you did it without saying anything.
Well, he wasn't exactly lying to you. Usually you need the incantations to perform spells. However, with enough practice, you can start using spells without saying the words out loud. Some wizards and witches are even strong enough that they can use magic without a wand.
Wow. Can you do magic without a wand, Mr. Potter?
I can, it's just a bit harder. Most of the time, it's fine to just use a wand. To be completely honest, most of the wandless magic I use is just to find my wand when I lose it.
Oh, I forgot to ask, how did you know?
Lily! Oh, thank goodness.
Mummy, what are you doing out here?
Oh, don't be silly, baby. Do you see how dark it is out here? I was getting so worried. I thought something had happened to you. Your father thought that you would be at Mr. Snape's house. but I just had a feeling you'd be out here.
He vanished again. I'm sorry, Mummy. I didn't mean to make you worry. I just lost track of time.
Baby, you know I don't like you coming out here all alone. Well, I'm just glad you're all right. Now, let's go and find your father and head home.
Okay.